Hey everybody, this is Bill, and welcome to the Color and Pageantry, where in this video we will present our Week 6 Top 25. We're also going to take a look at who is in and out of the Top 25, and who are the teams that are looking for a spot in the rankings. In addition, we'll take a look at who's hot and who's not. So first, let's check out who is looking to enter this week's Top 25, and who sadly fell out. Brigham Young was 19th, and they fell out after a hard loss at Notre Dame. Now, we think Brigham Young's a good football team. Their schedule is ridiculous. They've already played Oregon and Baylor, splitting those games. They just lost to Notre Dame. They face Arkansas this week and are at Liberty next week. Boise State is still down there to play. This is a good football team, but they lost out against Notre Dame. A little bit depleted in the receiving corps, but they fell out of the top 25. We mentioned Arkansas, another very good football team. Their quarterback couldn't play this past week, KJ Jefferson, so they lost the game, and they're out of the top 25. Florida State blew a 14-point lead on the road in Raleigh at North Carolina State, a historically tough place for the Seminoles. They fell late and are now out of the top 25, and LSU just got clobbered at home by the Rocky Toppers. So that was kind of surprising. LSU is out. So we got a lot of good teams, including those that just fell out, that are looking to get back in. Of course, Arkansas, we think they're a very good football team. They didn't have their quarterback this past week, so that hampered them in their ball game. Florida State, who lost at NC State at the last minute there. Washington State is a good football team. BYU, of course. Cincinnati, they had a tough time this week, but they got by it. Coastal Carolina's undefeated. Texas Tech is a very good football team, surprisingly so. Got a lot of offense for the Red Raiders. Washington, Notre Dame is starting to look like we thought they might look, so watch for them later in the season. Tulane, A&M had Alabama just about beat. Purdue, them and Minnesota both look like they could take the Big Ten West. Not necessarily anything to brag about, but hey, we'll take what we can get. James Madison, we talked about them last week. Their schedule sets up very nicely. LSU and Liberty, another good football team. They almost took out Wake Forest. Wake Forest did not have that wonderful quarterback Sam Hartman, but Liberty about won it. Checking out the top 25 now. North Carolina enters. They're 5-1. They did escape Appalachian State, remember, earlier in the season, 63-61. They did fall to Notre Dame, but they did beat Miami in Hard Rock Stadium this past week. Illinois, boy, they're looking good under Brett Bielema. 5-1, gave an early game away to Indiana, or they'd be undefeated. They just won at Iowa. Big game this weekend for them. Kansas, they fell at home to TCU, but boy, they're looking good. They've got Oklahoma this week. Texas, speaking of Oklahoma, Texas laid the wood on the Sooners. I don't know what has happened to the Sooners. The performance they put forth in the Red River rivalry was just horrific. Goodness gracious, 49-0 Texas, man. What a great game for the Horns. Utah, they surprisingly fell to UCLA on the road. That was very surprising. So they're 21st. Syracuse, undefeated under Dino Babers. Good to see that. Don't think they're that great. They really haven't played anybody, but boy, they're undefeated, so we got to look at them. They got a big game, NC State, this week. We'll find out a lot more. Kentucky did not have their starting quarterback. They took it on the chin to South Carolina, who's a pretty good team also, but they're coming in at 19th. Baylor, that's a good football team, tough schedule. They're at 18th. Kansas State, another good football team. They're 17th. They've got the big win over Oklahoma. Mississippi State comes in at 16. Now, this is a team to watch. We knew they were good. Their schedule is daunting, but their quarterback is having himself a season. So watch Mississippi State. Texas Christian, who walloped Oklahoma. They won at Kansas this week. They're 5-0, but their schedule difficulty does pick up moving forward. Wake Forest and the talented Sam Hartman at quarterback. They can score on just about anybody. They're 14th. NC State with that big victory over Florida State at home, come from behind one. They're looking good, other than their loss to Clemson, which was disappointing for them to be sure, but they did bounce back. They're at Syracuse this week. We'll keep an eye on that one. Oregon, playing very well after getting bombed by Georgia in the opener. They're 12th. Penn State is 11th. Penn State is undefeated. Their schedule gets appreciably harder coming up. Michigan this week. UCLA is 10th under Chip Kelly and DTR at quarterback. Big victory over Utah this week at home. Don't know how many people saw it. The crowd ain't too sporty out there. But boy, UCLA looking good after they just about lost to South Alabama earlier in the season. They've rebounded nicely. We got to keep our eyes on the Bruins. They're coming in at 10th. Ole Miss is 9th. They play Auburn at home this weekend. That could potentially be the end of Auburn's head coach. But Ole Miss is looking good. After Auburn, they've got LSU, A&M, and Alabama and Arkansas, and then the Egg Bowl. They could run the table, but there are a couple tough games there for Ole Miss. But they're 6-0 and ranked number 9 right now. Oklahoma State looks good, ranked 8th. Got a lot of offense there. Last year they were really good on defense, but they got better on offense, so Oklahoma State might be one to watch, although the Big 12 is deeper than most people think. Maybe not at the elite level of the top, but through the middle. Very tough football teams in there. Clemson has been impressive. We thought Clemson would struggle a little bit, losing both coordinators and having a subpar quarterback play, but everything has improved. They're looking very sharp right now. They're at Florida State this week. Southern Cal comes in at 6th. Michigan is 5th. They did struggle a little bit at Indiana, but they were probably kind of unnerved by Coach Mike Hart having passed out over on the sidelines. But he's going to be fine, and Michigan is going to be fine too. They've got Penn State this week. They can redirect things. Tennessee is 4th. Wow, impressive at LSU. They clobbered the Tigers. Very impressive. We know Tennessee's got a lot of offense. If they can get that defense going, they are one to watch. They are with Alabama this week, the 3rd Saturday in October. And boy, howdy, if Alabama's quarterback can't play, look out. Tennessee could win it. And they might be right in the playoff if they do. They got the offense. I'm going to be watching Saturday, 3:30 on CBS. I know you will be too. And boy, howdy, if ESPN Game Day ain't there too. Georgia, very powerful. They're 3rd. Ohio State keeps clocking along. They've got some offense up there in Columbus. Look out for them. Alabama, what can you say? They did beat Texas A&M with their backup quarterback. That was a game we were going to watch, Texas A&M, Alabama, but Bama got through it. It's a tough road for Alabama. They're not quite as good all around as you thought they might be, but they can get better. But Alabama, until we know otherwise right now, our number 1 team in the country. Well, who's hot? Well, of course, we can go about Tennessee, who we just mentioned a minute ago, but we're going to go with UCLA. Now, they escaped a home game against South Alabama, their 3rd game. They won 32-31. South Alabama missed a field goal effort, could have won the football game. But UCLA has since dispatched of Washington and Utah, and we think Utah's a really good football team, so that kind of opened our eyes. We know UCLA's got outstanding quarterback play with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, so we look forward to watching them down the stretch here. They've got Oregon coming up. That's going to be a tough game, going to tell us quite a bit. But right now, you have to appreciate the Bruins. They're playing in front of nobody at home, but boy howdy, big win over Utah. We want to give them a shout out. DTR back for his 31st year as quarterback at UCLA. The Bruins right now looking pretty hot. Another hot team we want to mention is Illinois. After giving that early game away to Indiana, the Illini has rode their stellar defense and employed a strong running game to take the lead or share the lead in the Big Ten West. And that's not saying a whole lot. But, man, you got to give Bielema and his credit for this fast start. They got a home game this weekend against Minnesota. That's going to be really informative for the division lead moving forward. We'll keep our eyes on that one for sure. Now, who's not hot? Well, Oklahoma. Good grief. After getting blasted 2 weeks in a row, they laid a complete egg and got embarrassed on the high-profile stage of the Red River rivalry. Texas beat them 49-0. It could have been worse. I don't know what in the world is going on at OU, but the Brent Venables tenure is off to a horrific start. Another team we're concerned about is Stanford. Now, the Cardinal played tough at home this past week, but dropped a late contest to Oregon State on a miraculous catch by Trayshawn Harrison. They're now 1-4, with only a win drubbing Colgate in the opener. What is going on at the farm? For years, highly thought of David Shaw has had Stanford as a rock-solid 8-4 program with the occasional Rose Bowl appearance and a top 10 finish. But my goodness, Stanford has fallen off. 3 consecutive years, the Trees have finished with a negative record, and they're about to have a losing season again. They still face Notre Dame, UCLA, Utah, along with the big game on the road, and they got Wazoo and BYU at home. Ouch! Not sure what's going on the farm, but it ain't good. Well, that'll do it for this week, folks. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our rankings. Do drop us some comments. Let us know what we missed. If you see something differently, we'd like to hear about it. Please do feel welcome to follow us on Facebook. We're at The Color and Pageantry. We also invite you to like the video and subscribe to our page, but more importantly, we want to thank you for watching. It's going to be another great week. We've got our eyes on the third Saturday in October in Knoxville. With any luck, Dolly Parton might be the guest picker. Who knows? But, man, we'd love to see that. But a lot of great games. We're going to be watching them all. Somebody's going to get beat. We'll talk about it next week. Have a great week. We'll see you then.